openly criticize Israel's prime minister. Biden telling donors moments ago that Israel is losing worldwide support, and Israel's prime minister has a, quote, tough decision to make. Biden said Netanyahu, quote, has to strengthen and change his conservative plan to find a long-term solution to the conflict between Israelis and Palestinians. I want to talk more about these developments right here, so let's bring in Ken Gray. He is with the University of New Haven. A lot of expertise here and a friend of the show. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today.
Hi, Josh. Glad to be with you again.
Of course. Well, first off, can you break down the significance of these comments? Because it does sound like Biden is openly criticizing Netanyahu for possibly the first time.
Yeah, what we are seeing is a difference in opinion about what to do in the post-war situation with Gaza. The Israelis want to maintain a presence in the Gaza Strip, open-ended, after they have succeeded in wiping out Hamas. Additionally, they do not plan for any role on the part of the Palestinian Authority. The United States has a completely different view of a post-war vision for the Gaza Strip. They believe that the Palestinian Authority must be part of the end game here, and they also believe that they want a resumption of the peace talks between Israel and the Palestinians in trying to reach a decision towards a two-state solution. And so this is a real conflict in a vision for what it will happen next. And Netanyahu is very firm about the fact that he refuses to make the same mistakes that were made during the Oslo Accords, which provided a central role for the Palestinian Authority. And the Palestinian Authority, of course, disagrees with that.
Is this likely to have any sort of effect on the relationship here between Israel and the U.S.? We know there's a lot of discussion right now in Congress about the funding for Israel here. Is this likely to impact any of that?
Well, it could have an impact on funding, but it also brings attention, more attention to the death toll. That is, as I've been saying all along here, that as these numbers rise, with the number of deaths in the Gaza Strip rises, it calls into question the legitimacy of this war effort on the part of Israel. If the United States chooses to emphasize that part, then it'll be done for Netanyahu. Netanyahu does not have a position of power right now as far as long-term stability. In fact, President Biden has already had talks with him about how he should hand over the reins to his predecessor, how to bring him up to speed. So President Biden does not see Netanyahu having any future there when this war ends. And Netanyahu's numbers are pretty low right now. Probably Benny Gantz, the National Unity Party, is probably going to be the predecessor. It's going to take over the role of running Israel following Netanyahu's eventual departure as the prime minister.
Would it be surprising to see him actually depart as the war is going on? Do you think he's going to wait until Hamas has been destroyed before he does make any sort of move, or anyone else makes a move to get him out of office?
So I don't have a crystal ball. I can't make long-range forecasts, but I can tell you this. The longer this goes on, the more of a possibility that he will depart while it is still a war in progress. But in actuality, the IDF is making good progress towards achieving their goal. They are systematically headhunting the heads of Hamas and are making progress towards removing that. I think that you might see a shift in the war efforts from outright destruction of large areas to shifting over to one very much of going after the heads, headhunting type operations, as opposed to going in and taking down large structures.
One thing that's also interesting, we do know that there were those protests that were happening pretty much every weekend there in Israel. We were covering them here, and I'm sure we've spoken about them. But you did have people that were gathering in large groups there in Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, just about everywhere, to show that they did not want Netanyahu in power. So I'm not sure if you can really speak to this, but is Netanyahu even less popular than he was back then?
So before this happened, before October 7th, Netanyahu was in trouble at that point. There had been a move to try to discount their Supreme Court, to try to displace its role in government over certain issues. And then the October 7th happened, and that got put on the back burner. But Netanyahu was under a lot of fire before. And so as this war starts to go sideways, that is, as the death toll rises and it continues on, it just puts him in a more precarious position. So I think that he was unpopular before. He's even less popular now. And that despite the initial surge of support with the response to October 7th, I don't see him having a long-term future as prime minister there.
Do you think, just based on what you've seen, that Netanyahu really cares overall how Biden feels about the situation? He, of course, wants the support from the U.S., but do you think he really cares about these comments that were made by President Biden?
If he doesn't, he does so at his own risk. By that, I mean, Israel is able to continue with its ability to survive in that environment due to the support by the United States. If the United States were suddenly to cut it off, then the likely outcome would be quite different, because you see there are a lot of enemies out there to Israel, a lot of current enemies and a lot of future enemies that would join in if things were to change with the relationship between the United States and Israel. Iran, for instance, may become a more active player. The Houthis we see are doing harassment-type attacks. Hezbollah continues to be a problem on the northern border. But there are others in the area that would join in, the Syrians, for instance. So I think that Netanyahu, that given the choice between Netanyahu and the support of the United States, the Israelis would prefer the United States support over that of Netanyahu.
All right. Ken Gray there at the University of New Haven. As always, thank you so much for taking the time to join us and help break down these latest developments. We know they are continuing to develop pretty much on an hourly basis. Anything you want to add here before I let you go?
No, I think that that this newest development is something we should be keeping close watch on. The fact that the United States has telegraphed that it is starting to lose its total support of Israel, that this is something that is developing on a daily basis, and something we should pay close attention to.
All right. Thank you again for taking the time to be here. We appreciate it.